Are you sick and tired of trawling through endless eBay listings looking for those perfect cards for your personal collection? Or perhaps you're an avid grader, potentially looking for those bangers which are going to get you gem mint 10s? Then perhaps you've come to the right place. My name is Lewis. Welcome to the channel, The Indigo Auction. I am the owner and founder of theindigoauction.com. And this series of videos, we're going to tackle each week's listings on ungraded.com. We're going to go through each budget range from high end all the way down to the low end. And we're going to identify some of those bangers out there, which some of you might be looking for. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a cup of tea, and let's get right into the video.
Welcome, guys, to this week's weekly auction on ungraded.com. I believe it is week 78 without looking. A really cool thing that ungraded.com has provided me is a referral code for you guys to use on the site. You can earn yourself some additional commission when listing cards on here, because it isn't just a site for buying, it is also a site for selling. So make sure you check out the code at the bottom of the screen, and you can get yourself some extra pennies when you start selling on the site. Without further ado, let's get into the video. But before I actually go ahead and start going through some of the listings themselves, I noticed Go Premium has popped up. I don't know whether I've just been a little bit ignorant of just not noticed this, but this, because I was looking through some of the listings, obviously, to look at what we were going to talk about today. And I didn't actually notice that this had now become a thing. Maybe I'm just stupid, I just haven't seen it. But they have now released these premium plans. Now, personally, the base level for me does serve probably like most of the population who's just casually looking for some good quality cards to buy. But with these premium plans, you do actually get some nice little perks. So, we'll start we'll start obviously the membership that is live currently, and we'll talk a little bit about ungraded business, which kind of intrigues me a little bit. So we have ungraded pro here, which is billed at $4.99 per month. They currently have 2 months free when paying yearly, and you get an extra 40% off until January 31st, which sounds quite a significant discount for some of the services that they're offering. And they do also offer a 7-day trial. So, if you're looking to maybe try next week's auction or the next few bits that are coming up, might be a great time for you to get in and have a little look at what this is all about. So let's look at some of the features of these plans. Quick bids. Move fast when it counts. Place bids at the next available bid increment with 2 clicks or taps. Now, this is something that has bugged me a little bit. So when obviously the auctions are winding down, you want to get that bid in quick. Until recently, like, you've had to like click into the listing, you have to like type in like what your amount is, and then it's just a little bit too many steps for an auction environment, in my opinion. So they've taken a little bit step further where you can basically just tap. There's a little button, you'll see it when we go on the listings, where you can tap a little button, it'll basically just put you up the next increment like automatically. So that's going to be really useful. Listing notes. Get your thoughts down for later. Add a private note to each listing with your own observations. Okay, I suppose it serves a purpose. If there are multiple of the same cards and you want to put comments on each one, you want to remind yourself of which is which, might be useful. Listing tags. Create custom groups with tags for organizing listings by priority, estimated grade, or anything else. Probably very useful for you guys grading out there. You can tag your listings. You can say, what grade you think this card's potentially going to get. And you can like organize your stuff a lot better. And I don't know about you, but I like organization. Now that comes to the end of the pro features, but I'm very intrigued about the business features. So you get all the same things as we've already discussed just here. This very interesting little bit here is create a shop. Build a shop front for promoting your cards for sale and customize it with your branding and social links. Now, I don't know about you. I know probably a lot of you have seen Card Market, TCG Player, that sort of thing. Imagine that, but like on steroids. Because we've got ungraded.com's great features with all the card observation tools you've got, but you can put all of your singles on here instead and have those photos and mock-ups made for you. How nice would that be as a business, just to be able to send you stuff in and you basically don't have to worry about it. Now, we've got to consider there's obviously going to be commissions and other things involved there, but I think it's a great idea personally. So it's something I'm potentially going to look into when because it's coming soon. There's no date on this yet. And then with all these memberships, there's more to come. So we have market price data, complete sales history, exclusive card viewing tools, and other premium features. So, ungraded.com, I like that you're innovating. You're going you could have just stuck with what you've currently got going, but you're trying to improve things. So I'm actually going to subscribe to that later because that's the first time I've actually seen that. And the yearly fee for this, only £30, guys. £30 for an entire year of Ungraded Pro. I think it's a bit of a no-brainer, to be honest. But with further ado, we're going to get into listings. So see you in a sec. So guys, we're going to start with the high-end cards, and then we're going to work our way down from high to mid to low. Now, my interpretation of sort of the price ranges in my head, like low end is, £50 and below, I would say. And then that mid range is £50 to £100, and then anything above 100, I'm going to say, is high end. To me, anyway, is high end. You guys might have different interpretations of what you think is high end, but I think, to the average collector, those are pretty spenny prices anyway. So we're going to start with, obviously, an Umbreon, because everybody loves an Umbreon. Let's be real. There's going to be a theme with these listings. There's a lot of Aquapolis on here this week. So let's get into I have already loaded the cards up this time around to avoid the situation I had last time. So let's get into the cards themselves. Now, this has a very, very lovely holo. It almost looks as if this was trying to make a bit of a swirl at some point. Do you know what? I love some of these. It makes me sad that I didn't put a lot more time into collecting when these cards were like out and about. I just really love these like the backdrops they have on these cards. So let's go by corner and have a little look. Oh god, you guys might struggle to see that actually. Let's come out a bit. There we go. So corner looks nice and rounded up here. We have this corner's looking nice as well. Same case down here. Let's have a little look at the surface, see if we can identify anything that's glaringly obvious. Now, I know you guys can go through this yourselves and have a good little look and see what you think of the cards, because I'm not a grading expert. I don't claim to be. But I think it's just nice just to get a quick little overview of the cards, just to see if we can spot anything obvious. Front of that card is looking pretty clean, not going to lie. For a card that is quite old, let's be real, that is beautiful condition. So if we move on over to the back, which is the most common tell, I think, for if a card is in pretty good condition. Now, I can see straight away there are a few little white bits that we've got going on the corners here. So you can see that this corner here is a little bit, it's almost like I don't know what that is. Whether it's just whitening or whether it's like the card's like just got a bit of a wobble in it or something. This could potentially be a tiny bit of a start of peeling away maybe. So yeah, the edges are questionable, I would say. Let's zoom out a bit so we can see these bottom corners. So yeah, you can see this corner is quite visibly a bit whitened up. So I think the thing that probably stops this card obviously getting a 10 is probably these edges. I think if it was a 10 candidate, it would be a lot more definitely a lot higher up in terms of the price at the moment. Let's get a look at the surface, see if we can spot anything. I'm gonna scroll this down just a little. Why is this like? I want to see. Okay, we're just gonna. This is a work in progress, guys. Like, I'm still working on the series and how to basically make these. What's that? Just as a bit of a smudge or something, I don't know. So with its current price, we've got it currently sat at £670 with 3 days to go. And with the buyer's premium, which is pretty common practice with like auctions, like in real life, it's 793 and 80 pence. Now, I know these cards are spenny. Like, I'm not, we've all seen the videos. We know, you know, the dealer videos where you see some of these big boys going out. If we grab the price, I use price charting quite a lot. I know a lot of people use like eBay, last solds and stuff, but I don't know, I kind of find it hard to go through all the listings and try and find like cards of a similar condition. So if we take a look at the raw price on average, 38699. Now, the caveat to this is based on an average, I would say, of the cards that get sold. So what do we have? Well, we have a lightly played one just here. So let's take a quick look at it. Sold for 77696. Oh, bloody cookies, the banes of my life. So let's have a look. So the front of this looks, so with eBay obviously it's pinch salt because the photos really don't tell a whole story, I don't think. Let's get a quick look at the back. Some whitening on those corners. So I would say this is of a similar condition potentially. So yeah, the corners seem oddly similar to the card on ungraded.com. Do we have any other listings for this? These are going to be battered, let's be real. Near mint. I'm curious to see what near mint is, because everyone's near mint interpretations are very different to each other. Oh, I definitely would not say that's near mint. Those corners are battered, mate. So I would say on ungraded, you take things with a pinch of salt, because end of the day, like, you pay a little bit more, but you know what you're getting. And as a buyer, personally, I would feel a lot more comfortable with that. Like, say it was a difference of like £50, but I knew that the card I was getting was like a PSA 9 over like a PSA 6 or something. You'd take that, right? So moving swiftly on, we're going to head on over to everyone's Grail cards. There's always at least one gold star in there somewhere. And we have the gold star Flareon here, which has been listed as lightly played. I would say in terms of the condition, actually, they're not doing too badly with this card. Let's get rid of the Umbreon, just to help this load up a bit quicker. So I've currently got it listed at £460 with 11 bids with 3 days and 11 hours to go. And it currently has a buyer's premium at 547.05 with 24 people watching it. There's some of those quick bid buttons that I was talking about earlier. So we'll check out the surface of this. Just at a glance, it looks pretty good. I do like a gold star. I'm not gonna lie. The likelihood of me ever owning one is probably close to 0, to be honest. But never, I don't know. One day, maybe. When I have my midlife crisis. Is that a little swell? No, I don't think so. Let's check out the corners. I think just from a glance, they look pretty good anyway. Oh, I didn't want to go out that far. Right, let's go back in a little bit. There we go. So corner here looks nice. Corner up here is looking good, nice and rounded. Joe, I really wish they would make like holos feel a lot more exclusive again, because when you got these cards back when they were out, they were like the big ones. You knew it was the big ones because there wasn't really any other exciting cards in the deck. But now it's like art rares, special illustration rares. We've got so many different variations of card. Like it feels like even when you don't get like a big card and you get like a mid card, like you just feel disappointed, and I hate that. So if we move on to the back, so this has been listed with corner whitening or chipping moderate, edge whitening or chipping moderate. It says there's a minor crease somewhere. So this is quite useful for you guys to see. So this is how they basically rank their cards, basically. So this is their system of identifying what category it falls under. So you can pause the video and take a quick little look and see what they sort of base their condition types on. So you can see near mint or better does still have minor chipping or whitening or chipping on the edges. Lightly played does go to moderate on these two categories, as well as having surface indentations and some minor creasing. I'm interested to see where this crease is, because I cannot see it for the life of me. Let's get this loaded up. Is it on the back? Hang on, let's reset the card. I cannot... I don't know, is that an indentation just there? No, that just seems like a little like mark. Huh. But as you can see, the corners are obviously... Let's zoom out a little bit. Not that much. So we do have whitening on the corners here. Whitening all along the edge. This top corner here on the right looks pretty banged up. This bottom corner here looks a lot better, as well as this one down here. I want to try and find this crease that they're referring to, because sometimes they have like these conditions listed, but I never seem to find the I can never seem to find the issue. Maybe in those with you know, better eyes than me, or have an eye for grading, probably do a lot better. I don't know. I can't see it. But personally, if you're looking for a nice little gold star pickup, I feel like this might be a good opportunity. So if we take a look at the pricing. So the ungraded average on eBay is currently shown at $454.36. So the premium does, you know, bump it above the average here. But if you were to base it on a, you know, a grade that you might get from PSA, I don't know. For me, in my head, I'm like, conservatively, it's a 5 or a 6, maybe. Just because the condition of the edges and the corners, and then potentially there is a crease here or a surface issue that I can't quite make out here, or I just can't pick out myself. But I think that's a pretty good price. So let's find some cards that are going at a similar that have gone at a similar price. So we've got 577.32 here. Swirl. Let's have a look. This one says moderately played, so I'd be interested to see what. Oh yeah, looks quite battered. I think the edges here are a lot worse than what the card on ungraded is showing. I'm trying to... Curvature obviously doesn't matter if you're grading. Could be pretty banged up. See, like, this is the thing with eBay. I find it really hard to try and like identify what it is that... Oh yeah, this has got a big old crease down the side there. Good job I spotted that crease down in the corner there. So yeah, this one's pretty banged up in comparison. So it might not be a good example of a like for like. What about this one that went for 651? Let's have a look. The condition looks good on the front. Let's have a look. The back is looking quite clean. I can see that top edge is looking a bit white. So yeah, I could say this is probably close to the sort, maybe even just slightly better condition. So this is listed as excellent, and it went for approximately £740.12. So we're a bit of a way off of that at the moment at 547.05. I reckon if this sold for about 650, 700, I think that'd be a pretty good price for it. End of the day. So if you're looking in the market for a gold star, that might be a good shout. I feel like this is dragging on too long. And finally, in our high end, we are back in Aquapolis again, and we are with the Arcanine. Now, this card is looking pretty minty just from the off. We've currently got 11 bids on it at £410, 488 and 30 pence with the buyer's premium. And this is ending in 3 days and 11 hours. So you'll find with the ungraded listings that these do end on pretty much the same time on a Sunday. There is sometimes like an hour's difference between some of them. But I find that most of the high-end cards tend to end at the same time. So we'll take a quick little look at the front. That has got a really nice, it always looks like a swirl that tried to form just there. The surface is looking pretty decent on this. If we zoom in a little bit. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. I've got it in performance mode just because my laptop can explode if I have it on like high end. Let's take a look at some of these corners. Zoom out a little bit, please. Right, there we go. Corner here looks good. The front is looking pretty minty on this card as it currently stands. I don't know if this is someone just selling off their collection, to be honest. I'd be interested to see if this all came from one person. There's a lot of Aquapolis to come out in one go. Let's try and get a good little look at the hollow surface, see if we can spot anything. Don't know what that is. Could be just a little bit of dust or hair or something. Hello, good boy. Not seeing anything crazy on that surface. I think the front is pretty much as near mint as you'd want something of the card of this age to be at. Now, if we look at the back, surface-wise, looks very nice. I'm just trying to scan the card, see if I can spot anything. I think it looks pretty bloody good to me. Corners, bit of whitening, chipping on this side. A little bit of whitening going down and around, but it might just be the angle of the card potentially. Zoom out a little bit so you guys can see. Got some pretty, got sort of like a little bit of lifting just here maybe, just a tiny bit though, nothing crazy. So I'm gonna say this card definitely isn't getting you a 10. Got some issues here, but I reckon it could get a 7 or an 8 potentially with my very limited knowledge of grading. If we take a look at some of the prices on price charting, ungraded is £127.76, but again, this is an average of cards, so you're gonna have to find one of like a similar ilk. So the current price is what, 410? There must be some high confidence that this is going to grade quite well, I think. And I believe I've sort of like heard that with vintage they kind of have to take it with a bit of a pinch of salt because obviously finding high quality vintage is hard work. So, you know, the price is currently out at the moment that people think it's going to land between an 8 or a 9. It's hard to gauge, I think, especially with the state of PSA at the minute and how things are at the moment. I don't know what the population is on this. It's probably not something I'm going to dig too much into, as you guys probably know a lot more about it. But I think would be a nice little pickup if someone believes it's going to grade high, because as you can see that those higher ends, a 9 is going for 518 on average. 9.5 your BGS is 56987. So there must be something that I'm missing here potentially, but a nice card overall. I would definitely pick one up if I had the pennies for it. But now we're going to move straight on to our mid-range. So guys, with that we move on to the mid-range cards that we currently have on offer. Now this first one, the Jolteon Reverse Holo Foil from the Legendary Collection, is kind of teetering on the point of being at high end, and it is likely to head up onto high end. But I thought I'd throw it in here because it's a cool card. Now, I really love the firework effect that they added onto these. I just don't know how you would even start trying to like figure out the surface condition based on the amount of patterns going on here. I just know these cards end up being spenny as hell because obviously Legendary Collection, like it's unanimously one of the most expensive like booster boxes and packs to buy like on the market at the moment. So we'll quickly run through the corners. Let's have a little look. Get out of there a little bit. So the corners. The corner looks clean. The edging looks as if it might be a little bit buffed on the edge, but I don't know. That could be the hollow pattern throwing me off. Going down, going down, going down. Corner looks decent-ish. So yeah, I can see these corners are looking a little bit bumped up. So that's from the front, and then if we head on over to the back, looking at the surface, it looks really okay. But you can see obviously on the corners we have obviously that whitening that continues around from the front. Edges here, you know, we're looking a bit banged up in this top right corner. This corner's got whitening in these edges. So most of this card has got like a whitening issue. I think overall, if it was like you wanted a card for your binder, it would not be a bad shout to have something like this in there. If we head on over to the prices we're currently going for at the moment. So on average, we've got it at £117.24. So currently we are sat below the average at the moment. In terms of grades, it's hard for me to tell with Legendary Collection stuff. Like, just those standard cards by themselves, I tend to struggle with, like, grading stuff. It's not something that I'm particularly good at. But I would say it's probably going to struggle to get anywhere up in these, like, high-end areas. So I'd say, like, anything between this, like, market price of 117 and probably, like, I'm going to say, like, 180 at the very highest is probably a good price for this. Moving on to our next card, going into some more modern stuff now. So we have the Fukuoka's Pikachu. These came from these really nice boxes that they had over in Japan, where there was like the celebration of the new Pokemon centers that had opened up, and they had these nice boxes with these lovely little Pikachu promos in. Now, in terms of Japanese stuff, it tends to grade very, very well, and I know that these cards do tend to do pretty well when they headed off to PSA. I mean, I'm inclined to not even like check these cards that much because I know they're going to be in good condition unless someone has really battered them. Like, those corners are looking pretty damn nice. Zoom out a little bit. Clean up there, clean here, going down the edges. It's nice down here. Like, the front, I don't see any problem. That back just looks clean as hell. Like, I don't see any issue here at all. Like, I'm pretty confident in saying that this card could grade quite easily a 10. Just looking at it in terms of centering, like, doesn't look too off center. I think it's definitely within tolerances. So at the moment, it's currently sat at £51 with the premium £61.50. This is probably going to end up tipping over into the higher end pricing. As you can see, market for this is £143.02. These high end cards, you know, some of these lower price ones, I'm actually curious to see whether these are like in decent nick like the other ones. I mean, yeah, these are looking in pretty good condition as well. So I'd say if you could get this for anything below market, which there's a possibility it could, you know, still got nearly £100 runway before it gets to that point. You could then grade and then, you know, you pick up a nice little bit of profit if you manage to hit that Gem Mint 10. So probably one to keep an eye on if it's something you're interested in. And finally, for the mid-range, we head on back over to Vintage again with the Dark Espeon from Neo Destiny, the Unlimited. I absolutely adore this card. I would really like this in my collection. But as most common collectors tend to find, is having money for cards all the time is hard work. Looks as if there's like a little swirl that's tried to form here, just at the bottom right of the cards. Looking at the centering, it looks pretty nice, quite even. If we go at the corners too, zoom out a bit. It's where it lets it down a little bit. There is some whitening in these corners, you can see. A lot more visible with the yellow borders, I would say, because you don't have all these funky patterns going on them. So the only issue with the front of this card is probably the edges, but I think it's negligible, especially if it's going to be a binder copy. And then looking at the back, surface-wise, we're looking pretty tasty. Say, it looks like it's got worse whitening on the front than it has the back of the card. So this corner looks as if it's not really very well rounded. If we go along, again, got a similar issue. Got a white speck here. I don't know if that's actually the card or it's just on the card. Got some issues around the edges here. Yeah, so again, it's a common theme with these cards is just whitening, because they're old, obviously, they're going to have it. So if we head on over to price chatting, well below market at the moment at £64 and at £77.10 with the premium, compared to the £121 ungraded. I'd say conditions for this are going to be, you know, quite wild. You know, we've got a moderately played heavy play going for £67 here. Yeah, I can tell even without opening this bit. Yeah, that's absolutely battered. Damn. Okay, no, so that went for £80 and 33 pence. And the fact that this is currently at £77.10, yeah, mate, it's a no-brainer. Like, definitely be going for a lot more than this, but it's definitely one to keep your eye on. And that being said, we're going to wrap up the video. We're going to move on to the low-end cards and see some of those little gems out there for us. Right. Alright, we've got Mega Devoir Pennies. Sky Ridge Ditto. So derpy. And then Crystal Guardians Charmeleon. So guys, we are now moving down into the lower end. Coming back to some modern, actually. So we're here with the Mega Gardevoir EX from Mega Symphonia in Japanese. I think the Japanese cards are slept on, because in English, this definitely be going for a lot more. So I think from a collector's standpoint, if you're looking for some of these big cards and you just want them for the bind and they'll look really nice, Japanese is definitely the way to go. So currently at the price of £31 or £37.50 with the buyer's premium, I think we're looking at a very nice example of a nice SAR that would look really great in your collection. So we're going to let these load up quickly. So I think in terms of modern, most people will have looked after these cards quite well. I do like this effect they now have around the borders of the mega cards. I think it looks really sick. So if we check out the edges quick, yeah, I'm not seeing anything crazy here, guys. Because like I said, most people tend to be whacking them straight into penny sleeves and top loaders as soon as they get them. It says looking for the service. I think these are a bit of a nightmare anyway to try and find any issues with. Got a bit of weird bumpy bumpies at the top here. Not sure what to make of that. There's always a bit of rough cut, to be honest. I don't know. But yeah, in terms of like the edges and the corners, everything looks pretty nice. Nice clean copy of a SAR if you're looking for one for your collection. We're going to be moving into the price chart for this. So currently it goes for about £90, sort of like as a general market price. And I think the prices here would be quite indicative of the condition of this. Because, like I say, most people tend to really look after the big pools nowadays. So we've got this at like 31 at the moment. So you've got like a £60 runway before it even gets close to market. But we've also got to take the buyer's premium into consideration. So I think if you manage to get this for like 70, £80, you've done pretty well. And with 3 days to go, I reckon people could get that. This could be a steal at the lower end here if you were to bid smartly on it. So definitely keep an eye on this. I still think it's a crime that PSA 10s of these are just absolute rubbish for price in comparison to English. Because the cards are so much nicer in Japanese. If you haven't figured it out, my personal collection is mostly Japanese, but I think just the quality control, the textures, everything else looks so nice. Moving on to number 2 of our lower end. I spotted this just because I don't know, I love Ditto, man. He's funny. We've got the reverse hollow foil here with the Ditto. He's obviously looks like he's I don't know. It looks like he's posing or trying to like look like he's about to fight the cavemen or something. But it's just really really funny. Now immediately I could see a little bit of an issue up here. Don't know what that is. Whether that's a dent or something. Let me zoom out a little bit. There you go. You guys can see the corners maybe a bit better. I'd say the front looks quite nice. Edges look clean. Not much to really discuss in terms of the condition, apart from this little dink up here, of course. Now, if we take a look at the back again, this okay, that's already refreshed. Surface-wise, it looks okay. It doesn't look as though there's any like creasing or anything, but the real problem I can see is the corners, for example, like down here. I've got a big chunk missing here. The edges are probably could do with a little bit of love, some TLC. Not that I'm encouraging it, but I'm sure there's people out there who would be able to, you know, fix these potentially. But I wouldn't have a clue about how to fix cards and work out the imperfections in them. It definitely requires quite a steadier hand than me. Let's just say that. So currently got that at £20 and at £24.30 of the buyer's premium. And then if we hop on over to the price chart for this, currently about £10 under market at the moment. I'd say, you know, if you could get this for around £30 by the time the auction ends, it's probably quite a good price. You know, any reverse hollow foil from Skyridge is a good shout. With that being said, we're going to move on to our final item of the auctions, and we have a Charmeleon here with the Crystal Guardians stamp on it. I really want to start collecting some of these, to be honest, because I don't know, something about the stamped cards I like. Now, I'm noticing straight away, my eye clocked that immediately, looks as if there's like a pretty hefty print line here, right along the top of his head, which kind of sucks because that's really noticeable. But you know, maybe in person it wouldn't look so bad because if you like show it at like certain angles, you don't really see it. think if you just to glance at it, you probably wouldn't notice it, but because it's obviously such a high def image, you just see these things straight away. In terms of corners and the edges, just from a glance, it looks pretty nice. Zoom out a bit so you guys can see. Yeah, I'm not really seeing anything crazy on the front here. If we take a look at the back, surface looks to be fairly good. And then if we take a look at some of the edges and the corners, it looks a bit rough around this edge here. You know, we've got the whitening around the edges. I think is again a common theme with some of these older cards. Quite some significant chipping just here. As if there's like a little dent just here potentially. And then this corner, again, there's a little bit of a rough edge just here. So currently sat at £25 or £30 and 30 pence. If you take a look at its price at the moment, on average, it is slightly above market at the moment. There must be some confidence that it might grade well, or might just be a card that somebody is looking for their collection. PSA 10 for this goes for £300. Wow. Definitely not a PSA 10 contender with that massive print line, but do you know what? For a minty copy of Crystal Guardians, I think that's not a bad pickup, to be honest. So yeah, that is us gone through all the listings. So it's about time for us to wrap it up, I think. So guys, with that, that pretty much wraps up week 78's picks that I've chosen for auction this week. This is the first video of the series, so if you've stuck around for this long, thank you. I really appreciate your time that you've sunk into the video, because I do imagine it's going to be quite a lengthy one. I do feel like I've waffled quite a bit. Any feedback or comments would be really appreciated on how I could improve the series for you guys, whether there's any particular features you want me to focus on. If you could drop a like, that'd be really helpful. And if you do want to see more of this sort of stuff, drop a subscription. And be sure to head on over to theindigoauction.com if you're looking for some sealed Japanese products. And please feel free to drop a follow on Instagram or any of my social handles that are going to be in the bio below. But for now, guys, I'm going to say goodbye and thank you guys for coming to check out my video today. So, peace.